is man? What is man?
Well, looking back, we talked about family, we talked about marriage. Let's talk a little bit about ministry. Merv, you had mentioned when you guys first met, you guys really weren't serving the Lord wholeheartedly.
Merla was.
I was.
I wasn't.
Okay.
Since I was 8 years old.
There you go,
I didn't
faithful,
have time
dear
for anything
sister.
else. I was
Where
practicing.
would we be without our wives, right?
That's it. Well, she won 160 awards, and I was busy playing baseball, I think, at the time. Anyway, she finally got me to church, and it was a Presbyterian church in Harvard Presbyterian Church with Bill Fitch.
Knox Presbyterian.
Knox Presbyterian, was it? Yeah, Knox. Anyway, he really preached a phenomenal sermon, which brought me back to the Lord.
Wonderful.
Because I had become a believer, but I'd left it at 16. Being the oldest young person in the Brethren Church, they don't always encourage the young people. They just, I mean,
Right.
it's just the way it is. They disappear, and I was the last one standing. And everybody was 25 plus, the young people. Well, I just said, that's enough. And I went to university. I had enough socialist professors there to mess up my whole faith side. And so I'd left it for 10 years, but then I came back to the faith. And then as a young couple, we wanted to do something for the Lord.
Wonderful.
So this was a good beginning.
But during that time, we also did what we call club dates, and we would have like 5 sets a night at a cocktail lounge. Now this is really weird because for me, I never drank, never smoked, and just like, whew. But God used us there. We did 5 sets every night, and I was pregnant at the time with Sean, and so it was a very difficult experience. But I can remember once singing our song "Miracles, Miracles," and all of a sudden, from somebody who was drinking out there, came this voice that said, "Don't sing about that."
Wow.
Just like that.
So we
Whoa.
continued singing
You know,
about
but
it.
we continued singing. But so we did a lot of those what we call club dates for a while.
Yeah, just
But-
like being a light in the darkness.
Yes,
Oh, yes.
I know. I can remember one time I was playing my violin from table to table. And this was a high class place, but anyway. And I remember this one place I stopped. This woman looked up at me and she said, "Can I have a word with you?" And I said, "Yes." So she brought me over to the corner and she says, "There's a presence with you
Wow.
when you come around the table. What is that?" I said, "It's the Lord Jesus Christ." And she goes, "What?" She couldn't believe it.
Shocked.
Just absolutely shocked. But she discerned it, that there was a presence there. So you never know, what people pick up. And this is...
Well,
this is
and your
such a-
gifts were making room for you as
Yeah.
well.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, in outside of the church world.
Oh yeah, quite sound. We had 55 numbers a night, plus,
Wow.
plus
Yes.
strolling. The lonely people go there.
Yeah.
And so I can think of one chap who was involved in bombing in the Second World War. He was a bomber in one of these big bomb
in the planes.
in planes.
Wow, with the
And,
Royal Canadian Air Force.
That was
or-
before they had suicide bombers.
Wow.
Most bombers were suicides already.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was sitting there drinking to forget the fact that his grandchildren are the same age as the German children that he killed.
Wow.
So he had this on his heart, and so he's.
Wow. So
Had a chance to talk
I'm
to him.
sure the stories that you have, even from those early days,
Oh yeah.
or could just fill books.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, just before we kind of close this conversation, what churches were you guys working out of at that time? Were you were doing some ministry? Was it still at that Presbyterian church, or was there other ministry?
Oh, no,
that,
Campbell
no.
Catacombs. That's
Yeah.
where that
Oh,
comes
it
in.
was an Anglican church, actually the Low Anglican church on King and Parliament called Little Trinity, and we were attending there because the minister was almost 7 feet tall.
Harry Robinson.
Harry Robinson. He was a minister of the Kingston Penitentiary, and he was doing fabulous work. So we found an old schoolhouse behind it. It was built in 1849 by a bootlegger, and they used to hang people at the end of the street. And,
wow.
It was quite the time. And he
We renovated it.
we renovated it
Yeah.
and started a concert series there called the Schoolhouse Concerts. So we did that for several years, and it drew a lot of people into that kind of a setting. And that's where we started. Merla started to write folk songs, like a folk song style. Joan Baez was going in that time, and a lot of other people at that folk level.
And we expected only 60 people or something for the first
Oh, yeah.
concert, and 600 people came.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was, not quite that many, but there's a lot of them. And so we started this series actually in an apartment that we had over in Etobicoke, and then we moved it over to there. And we had a lot of people that are now famous musicians who were classmates.
Wow.
And so we used them.
Wow, just fascinating.
But
Yeah.
that went from there to the catacombs.
Yeah, well then, I don't know whether you've got time for this, but I'll do a little bit of it. I was a band director in Scarborough at the Birchmont Park Collegiate. We had 240 students in music, and we had 1,600 kids in the school. Two or three kids came up and said, "Sir, would you consider sponsoring a Christian club?" And I said, "Yeah, I would consider it, but I wouldn't call it Christian because no one would come." But I tell you, we're in the middle of the fall of the Second Roman Empire, which is what we're in now. And I said, the catacombs started there, and I think we should call it a Catacombs Club. So I had an announcement come over the PA. 4 o'clock this afternoon, the Catacombs Club is meeting, and we're burning heretics. And if you're a heretic, come at 5 to 4, we'll strap you to the pole, and you'll smell the smoke. You know where we are. So that was so crazy that people showed up.
People must have. Wow.
That group of 6 kids grew to be 2,500 kids a week
Wow.
at St. Paul's Cathedral in Toronto for 4 years.
And out of that came Benny Hinn. He came
Benny
to the
Hinn
Lord
Right.
during that. Yeah.
He was one of our dancers.
Wonderful.
So there's a whole story there that we can't go into there, but it was a terrific blossoming. There were 700 baptized that year.
And that was where the trained choreography came into being. Well, not just getting up and spontaneously, ripping up and down the aisle, but planned, routine,
Right.
beautiful dancing, led by a ballerina from the Stuttgart Ballet, who took her first actual step of faith into the dance. That was fabulous.
England.
And it was so wonderful that Dawn Stevens from YWAM was in the congregation the first night that she did her dance. And we often sang the great hymns of the church. And this one we were singing, "Praise to the Lord, the Almighty, the King of creation." She took a flying leap off the high altar area. "Praise to the Lord." He said in that moment, I swore I was raptured. It was so, and there was a 5-manual pipe organ, and the choir, we had choir, and we also had solo instruments. There was no guitar and bass there. It was clarinet, flute, trumpets, all that stuff, plus banners. That's when that came in as well.
Wow.
All the,
What a wonderful piece of church history here in Canada of the evangelical church. Wonderful.
And over 30 couples
50.
out of that. Was it 50 couples?
yeah.
Not only came to the Lord, but they're serving the Lord full time in different countries.
Wonderful.
So we meet them all over the place. It was wonderful. We'd see the kids coming up to the altar, dropping their drugs on the altar rail, and we never had to go down to the kids and say, "Now this is how you accept the Lord." Step 1, 2.
It was a real move of God.
Well, they felt they would crumble to their feet during the worship
Wonderful.
and accept I've never heard worship like that before since anywhere in the world.
Wow.
It was absolutely heaven itself, like angels.
Wow.
Just fabulous.
Under the shadow of your wings, a sweet pavilion from the storm.